I'm Teisha Bader. Thank you for joining me. John Ondrasik is a platinum-selling, Grammy-nominated singer, songwriter, and performer, better known as Five for Fighting. He is also a leading voice among very few in the entertainment industry who has chosen to stand up for Israel, condemning the Hamas massacre of October the 7th and publicly calling for the release of the hostages, using his beautiful voice, his talent, his songwriting to do so loudly and impactfully. And we are so fortunate to have him here in our Times Square studio in New York City as he embarks on a tour across the U.S., including here in the New York area. John, thank you so much for being here.
Pleasure to be with you.
It's really an honor. And the really main question is, you are not Jewish.
No.
And yet you have chosen to stand up for Israel. Why?
You know, sometimes I get frustrated with that question because you shouldn't be asking that question. To me, it's a moral thing. It's a moral message. It's a moral responsibility. It shouldn't be about religion. It shouldn't be about creed, color. When you have evil people committing atrocities on innocent people, it shouldn't be harder than that, you know? And after, October 7th, it reminded me of 9/11. Here we are in New York City. It's the same thing. And the fact that so many in the music industry and in the country in general are for some reason paralyzed to come out and say very simple things, as you said. Hamas is evil. If Hamas is not evil, I don't know what is. Beheading babies, raping women, the atrocities, and release the hostages. Is that hard? So I think the song that I wrote about October 7th is called We're Not Okay, because we're not. We're outside Times Square. The song was inspired by Eric Adams on October 8th when he said, something's broken in America when we have thousands of people celebrating the atrocities of October 7th in Times Square. So to me, it's very depressing and sad that I am somewhat of a lone voice in the music industry. You know, the music industry kind of likes to pride itself on human rights, and we're always on the forward step, and we're Live Aid, and we're Sun City, and we're the concert for New York. But all of a sudden, it happens to Jewish people, and everybody, including Jewish artists, are afraid to say basic moral truths. It just goes to show you, how kind of, I believe, morally broken we are as a society.
You said everything that really there is to say. I feel like we could end the interview because, you said This is just what's right. And I think we, as the Jewish people in general, felt when October 7th happened, and then the next day, these protests started, we were like, what is happening in the world? It really felt like the upside down. And it has been feeling that way since that date. And to have someone like you, with your platform and your talent, stand up and say, this is an easy question of right and wrong. Why is this even an issue? Is I can't tell you, it is so important and it means so much to us.
Well, when Israel shared my video of my song "Okay, We're Not Okay," I got a very small sense of what it's like to be Jewish in the world today. The vitriol, the death threats, all that stuff.
Wow.
But I also got thousands of emails from Jewish people around the world who felt exactly that. They just didn't understand what alternate universe are we living in. Many said, look, we marched for civil rights, we did all the right things, and then it happens to us, and we're abandoned by the people we've been supporting for decades. And I think some folks felt, well, maybe there is something wrong with me. Am I missing something? And I think that song and the message of the song, many people are like, well, thank you for saying that. I was kind of losing my mind. It's like, nobody's saying this simple truth. And again, that to me was just very sad. But again, I think it reflects so many institutions in our culture. Look at the UN. The UN voted to not condemn Hamas for October 7th. UNRWA has a bunch of terrorists working for them. This is 2024. Of course, the raging mobs on our college campuses, the members of Congress who are basically Hamas spokesmen, the Rashida Tlaibs of the world, the media, who in many cases has become Hamas propagandists. I can only imagine how Jewish people feel and are shocked by some of these images. as I said, I've said this many times, but when you grow up, you read history, and you're like, how could the Holocaust happen? How could that happen? There's good people. There's good people. That could never happen today. Well, now we see how that could happen, because the last image of my video is Martin Luther King saying, "Silence in the face of evil is complicity." And we have a complicit society. And that has to change. And one way that is very important to change that, and people don't think about this, is through the arts. Because we're losing a generation of kids. If you look at many of the polls of the younger generation, it's like more support Hamas, Palestine, than Israel. Why is that? Because they're getting brainwashed, just like the kids on the campuses, on TikTok. That's all they're hearing, oppressor, oppressee. And no speech, no politician is going to get to those kids. How do you get to them? It's through the arts. So the arts is a critical piece of fighting this culture war, which it is. And I've said this before too, it's not about Israel versus Hamas. It's not about Israel-Palestine. It's about civilization against those who want to tear it down. Putin, Iran, China, Hamas, they're all part of the same, mentality of taking down civilization. So to me, it's really a battle for the soul of the world. Israel, as usual, is on the front lines, and they're taking all the hits for it. But it's really a battle of civilization. It's not about religion. It's not about culture. It's truly about good versus evil. And it breaks my heart that Jewish people and Israel has to be on the front line. But when I went to Israel, I kind of learned the character of the Israeli people. And I'm glad you're on the front line, because Americans couldn't do it. Nobody in the world could do it. So you are really kind of the tip of the spear for the sanity of the world.
Well, that's lovely of you to say. The Israeli people are a unique people. They are strong and resilient, and they've been through a lot, and we're with them 100%. And you showing up the way you did, you flew to Israel to be there to perform in Hostage Square in Tel Aviv with your song, Okay. Okay, we are not okay, which is it is the absolute truth of how we're feeling. And we're going to show a clip of your performance. Let's take a look.
It's an honor to sing this with you. The first lyric of this song is, "This is a time for choosing." And it is, for individuals, for nations. It really is good versus evil. In Israel, I choose you. This is a time for choosing. This is a time to mourn. The moral man is losing, forbidden loss for long. I don't understand how you can look yourself in the mirror Holocaust again. I don't understand how you can look yourself in the mirror. I don't understand how did that blood spill from your eyes. We are now. We are now. Okay. Hey, yeah. Hey, yeah. Hey, yeah. Okay. Hey, yeah. Hey, yeah. Evil's on the march. Evil's on the march. Time to face the task at hand. Evil's on the march. Evil's on the march. Need every good woman, every good man. So stand up. Stand up. Stand up. Stand up. America. Stand up. Stand up. Stand up. Stand up. Okay.
John, that is so powerful, and the song is so beautiful. What was it like to be there on that stage and to have hostage families in the audience and seeing those posters that were being held up of the hostages?
There's no words, right? I guess the closest thing I could compare it to is when I played the concert for New York, here in New York City, looking out at the family members who had lost loved ones, firefighters.
After 9/11.
After 9/11. And I never thought I'd have another experience like that. But I actually wasn't supposed, I didn't go to Israel planning on performing. I went to meet with IDF soldiers, meet with hostage families, meet with some Israeli artists. And basically that day they said, will you come perform Superman and OK at Hostage Square that night? And it was incredibly humbling, very sad, but also inspiring. And I think many of the hostage families appreciated me doing that. As I said, I learned a lot about the Israeli people that night. Funny story, I don't know if it's funny, but it was for me. I'd never heard an announcement before a gig where the announcement was, in event of missile attack, please take shelter and cover your heads. And the first thing I noticed was nobody left. There was 10,000 people there. And I'm like, I wanted to go run and hide under my bed. Nobody left. And so I performed the songs, and as I walked off stage, the head of the Hostage Forum, Rebecca, said, hey, by the way, you need to be in your hotel by 11 o'clock because they're closing the airspace, and bad things may happen. And it was about 8:30. So I said to my kind of Israeli entourage, Israeli Americans and Israeli folks, I said, all right, guys, you heard, right? You heard, we got to go to the hotel. It was about 8:30. True story. My friend David said, but John, we have a dinner reservation. And I'm like, ha, ha, ha. No, it's like, no, I waited 2 weeks for this dinner reservation. And I'm like, and so we compromised. We went to the hotel, and 2 hours later, Iran launched the drones. This was the night Iran launched the drones. But I learned that's who Israelis are. And I came back changed. It's like the ability to kind of find joy and to keep moving in the worst of times was something I've never seen before in my life. The day after the Iranian attack, people were back on the beach, playing volleyball, going to work. As I said, something like, if that happened in America, everybody would be, halfway to Canada or something. But just to see the fortitude and the mindset of the Israeli people really moved me and inspired me and continues to inspire me. And I understand why Israel wins these battles, because it's really in here. It's in here where they have the advantage, and I was honored to do that.
Well, it was really, it's one thing, and it's still an amazing thing to speak up and say something, but like I said, to physically show up, be there, perform, meet with hostage families, these are not easy things to do. These take a toll, right? Personally, emotionally, I'm sure. And thank you for doing that.
No, you're welcome. Again, I feel it's an obligation for good people to do the right thing. I think it's a good fight. It's all of our fights. It's not just Jewish people's fights, it's all of our fights. And I do think we're on this tipping point. You see so much anti-Semitism run amok around the world and in America, even in our politics. And I'm not sure which way it's going to go. That's why we all have a role to play, to stand up, to be heard, to not be afraid to be called a name. And so many people, I think, in this cancel culture are used to hiding. And I said, a lot of people say, well, the silent majority supports Israel. And I'm like, well, that's true. If you look at the polls, 80%, 90% support Israel kind of fully to basically finish the war. But on the other hand, if silent majorities are silent too long, they become silent minorities. And I think we're seeing some of that too. Because some of this anti-Semitism is becoming excused, some by politicians, some by media, and some by the culture. So I think now's the time we all have to stand up, and nobody's voice is too small. People say, well, you're a singer, you have these songs. Like, in your PTA meetings, walking down the street, I think everybody has a role to play on this, because it really is the soul of the world on the line.
And it can be scary. You said you've gotten threats from people online. I mean, that shakes you up, and as you said, a lot of people are afraid to open their mouths because they could be canceled, they could be called names. This could have affected you professionally very easily. Maybe it has, I don't know, but.
Yeah, I mean, I talk to artists, and some big, iconic artists. I talk to some of their people. I said, you know what the right thing is. Why aren't you saying anything? And they say, well, I'm afraid for my safety. I'm afraid for my family's safety. I'm afraid my concerts will be protested. And I said, you're right. You're right. That's all true. But you also understand those were the same arguments people used in 1938.
Wow.
And they don't have a very good answer for that. And the problem is courage is contagious, but so is cowardice. So the fact that very few artists have spoken up kind of keeps that paranoia and that paralyzation within the community. And I do believe if one or two more spoke out, some of the dominoes would fall. But that's what I'm trying to do. And we're also trying to really put the focus back on the American hostages. I had an op-ed in the Wall Street Journal that basically talked about 1979, where during the Iranian hostage crisis, every tree had a yellow ribbon around it. Every post had a yellow ribbon. America doesn't even know the names of our 5 hostages. So that, I think, has to change. And so we're gonna try to bring the yellow ribbons back, and I'm working with many of the hostage families. But yeah, there's so many things broken in this country. But I think a tendency, especially for some Jewish people, is to kind of wallow in the depression. I understand it. It's depressing. You're like, I'm helpless. The world's gone crazy. But my feeling is we have to push back. We have to go on offense. Because at the end of the day, these are bullies. And so we're going to go to some of these college campuses. We're going to go to the worst offenders. We did a concert at MIT. Mattis Yahoo, Idan Reichel, and me. And we sang for 2,000 kids who've been under siege. And we stood up to the bullies. And we need to do that at Columbia. We need to do that at NYU. We need to do that at UCLA. We need to go on offense and stand in front of them and say, no, I'm not afraid of you. I'm in the right. And also, we need to save those kids who have been indoctrinated. You know, I understand going to college. You're seduced by your professor's wisdom and you want to change the world. And many of them feel they're doing the right thing. But just like a child that got seduced into a cult, we have to save those kids as well. We can't just abandon them to the ideology of hate that they've been taught by many of their faculty.
Well, John, what you're doing is so incredibly important. It means the world to us that you are standing up as you are, that you're using your voice, your talent, your platform, simply because, as you say, it is the right thing to do. And endless gratitude for doing that.
Thank you. Well, we have a lot more to do, and I know we're going to win this in the end.
Amen to that. And John Ondrasik is actually going on tour across the country. You can find out more at his website, 5forfighting.com. You're coming to the New York area. You'll be at Tarrytown Music Hall on the 18th, I believe.
Yes.
And across the country, so check it out, 5forfighting.com. John, thank you so much. We are fortunate that we're going to leave you with Superman, John's huge hit, beautiful song that he's going to play for us here in the studio. John Ondrasik, thank you so much for being here on JBS.
My pleasure. To all the hostage families and friends, may they be home soon. I can't stand to fly. I'm not that naive. I'm just out to find the better part of me. I'm more than a bird, more than a plane, more than some pretty face beside a train. It's not easy to be me. Wish that I could cry, fall upon my knees, find a way to lie, but a home I'll never see. It may sound absurd, don't be naive. Even heroes have the right to bleed. I may be disturbed, won't you concede? Heroes have the right to dream, and it's not easy to be me. And up and away from me, now it's alright. You can all sleep sound tonight. I'm not crazy or anything. I can't stand to fly. I'm not that naive. Men were meant to ride with clouds between their knees. I'm only a man in a funny red sheet, digging for kryptonite on this one-way street. Only a man, a funny red sheet, looking for special things inside of me, inside of me, inside of me, inside of me. funny red sheet. Only a man looking for a dream. Only a man in a funny red sheet. It's not easy. It's not easy to be